and subjects for the left. I wish that there were more leadership in the Republican Party, particularly on this issue. So many others. You know, after spending 18 years now in daily journalism and having both been in new media and old media, I started my first blog in 2004 and my second one in 2006. One thing you learn is sometimes you can't control the news cycle. They'll grab onto something, it'll be hot for a while, it'll get ratings, and then they drop it like a hot potato. And it doesn't matter if the damage continues to be done and we're subsidizing it with our taxpayer dollars. They move on to something else. America not only is a nation of slow learners so often, but also a nation of people with a very short attention span. And I think from what I take away from today, my hope is that the fellowship and the partnerships and the coalitions that are formed here are sustained. That's number one. And then two, that there's an understanding, and certainly this is true on other issues, for example, if you look at Arizona, that you cannot rely on Washington to fix the problem because they are the problem. All of these navel gazers and chin pullers who could have never predicted the rise of the Tea Party movement and the massive citizen backlash that we have seen are the folks who have predicted its demise even before it began. They were strangling this infant movement in the crib. And now with the election cycle and the coming November elections, they're once again proclaiming the premature death of this movement based on, sure, there's one or two fringe candidates, sure, there are disappointing losses, but these are the growing pains of any new mass revolt. And what I see is that the Tea Party movement will take a couple of election cycles to reap benefits. And also that a lot of those benefits will never make headline news. You're not going to see it on the primetime shows on Fox or even on the New York Times or certainly not on Katie Courage. It's stay-at-home moms and business owners who will plunge into local politics for the first time. They'll become the next generation of school board members at the local level and state legislators. And hopefully state secretaries of education and state school board members. I mean, we've seen over the last couple of years that it's not anything that the Department of Education is necessarily going to churn out. It's who's approving the textbooks at your state level. That's where it begins and ends. And these Chicago radicals that I've highlighted, SDS members, Socialist Democrats like Michael Klonsky, who have informed the current Federal Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan, who disguises himself as some sort of moderate. Yeah, joke. It's those people who write the textbooks. And you know that old phrase, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world? The hand that writes the textbooks rules the world. We've seen it in the history textbook wars in Texas and in California, but it's everywhere. You would think that the one area that couldn't be corrupted, for example, is math. How can you do math wrong? I've got a story for you. As many of you know, I live in Colorado Springs now, and I am a refugee of the East Coast, a proud refugee of the Beltway Swamp. And God bless all of you who can stand it here. we need you here. It was just not for me. But education was one of the prime drivers that got me out of the East Coast. And it all goes back to math. I was paying out the nose to send my girl to an all-girls private school, Bryn Mawr School in Baltimore, which some of you may have heard of, founded by the same woman who founded Bryn Mawr College. And after a couple of years, kindergarten through second grade, you're not really paying all that much attention, at least I wasn't, I should have been, discovered that my second grader was still doing kindergarten math. Why was that? Well, we started asking questions. And we got all sorts of educational jargon. Oh, don't worry about it. They're not just repeating the same old thing. It's called spiraling. Love their jargon. They're so good at that. Spiraling? You're just giving her you're recycling. You're giving her the same, what's going on here? Well, this is all an extension of the fuzzy math wars from the 1970s. And it turns out there are now Chicago-trained radicals, this was a University of Chicago curriculum, who believe that math is boring, math is dull, math does not increase the self-esteem, especially of girls. So we have to teach math in a non-math way. I kid you not, in the 5th grade textbook for this University of Chicago program, which is called Everyday Math, one of the questions was, if math were a color, what color would it be? You can look it up. There's a grassroots revolt against this pablum underway. Urban teachers in New York City knew that their kids were being woefully disserviced by this. And the whole point is to lower the standards. Because the kids couldn't pass the international math exams, so let's just not have them do math at all. I am seriously thinking of writing a documentary called Weapons of Math Destruction. Because that's what they have done. Essentially, if any of you have followed closely the curriculum wars at the college level, this is the theory of deconstruction from the English and humanities applied to the math and sciences. No child left behind. Well, they won't be if you simply ask them what color math is. My husband and I, and he's the economist in the family. I always joke that I am the most mathematically challenged Asian American in America. Next to Lisa. We got to experience something that if you raise your voices, and so many of you have in the political context, but it happens in the educational context too, we were completely ostracized. My husband had wanted to start an after-school program for some of the girls in my daughter's class who were gifted in math. But you can't do that, because that smacks of tracking, and that smacks of emphasizing differences. And in a world where radical egalitarianism reigns, we can't have that. So they wouldn't let the club meet on their rolling campus. So they had to meet on a park lawn. And of course, I have such a big mouth and a pen that won't stop writing, so I blogged about this. I blogged about the curriculum. The Texas School Board of Education, which has been very vigilant about these matters, dropped this particular curriculum at the 5th grade level and 6th grade level. And so I wrote about that without mentioning my daughter's school. And guess what? I got called into the headmistress's office. The first time ever in 14, 15 years at that point that I've been writing columns that I've ever been called into the principal's office for a column. And I kid you not, she had her legal counsel there and essentially threatened that if I did not refrain from writing about math or any other curricular matter that would reflect